Hotapu, hotapu, hotapu. Y'all are early to the room, Herrera. We are getting started. You're going to get to see the back end of what's cracking. So we're going to have an opportunity to do multiple things all at once here together. So we're going to do it that way. So it's all set up. Thank y'all so much for making this happen. We're getting ready to make it do what it do, baby. Okay, yeah. Check, 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 check. Mic check. Check. Check, check, check. Mic check. Okay, yeah. Excellent. Check, check, check. Mic check. Check. Check, check, check. Mic check. 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 Here we go. All righty. So here we go, live and direct. Getting us set up here in our spot. So we are ready to go. All right. Now we're going to kick it in. Uh-oh. Now we're going to kick it in here. No, we're going to go there. Yeah. Boom. Peace, peace, peace. What up? What up? What up? Hope everybody is well. Hotapu, hotapu. Peace and blessings to everyone present. Hotapu. Those of you that don't know, I am Inpu Ka Mut. Seba Inpu Ka Mut. So thank you for joining. Today is a special day. This is our second live on IG, where we'll be here doing our thing. We're going to be spending a few minutes together, working it out. The real goal for us is to share some information that we utilize in terms of our Kemetic Aha Association, some tools that we find beneficial that we have utilized during this time where we've been able to shelter in place. We've had a lot more time to be contemplative, a lot more time to look within. In addition to looking within, we've had a lot of time that's going to enable us to reflect on what are some things that we want to do coming out of this. We know that people are talking a lot about self-care. We spent a lot of time in our last session identifying just how do you know something? And what are some ways that you can utilize what modern science would call like the scientific method. But we wanted to really talk about how just in your everyday life, hey now, you have an opportunity to pick up some things to learn and to use those things you're learning from to grow. We got the real blessing of wind coming behind me this afternoon. So grateful for the airflow. So if you hear a little clanging on the background, that's just my sign back there behind me getting a little friendly with everybody. So today's topic, we want to be able to spend some time each week with a different topic. Like I was saying before, last week we talked about ways of knowing, and we talked a bit about science and a bit about how Tai Chi Chuan, Qigong, and what we call Rekhati, or the mind science of Kemet, how those tools really are ways of knowing the body. And so in many of these ancestral-based traditions, you have an opportunity to learn your body very effectively. And so we talked about that, and we talked about how the breathing and the breath are interconnected to understanding and knowing the body. And so we talked about getting into more depth of understanding what the body is like in a future process. But what we wanted to do was we're building this the same way we build in terms of our classes. All right, so thank you for all those that are in the room. So when we talk about building, the first thing we talk about is the breath, because wonderfully, that is the one thing that we're not able to do anything without. So now that we've begun work on the breath, and hopefully you've had a chance to check us out either on our Facebook pages, but primarily on our Zoom sessions, as well as you may have checked us out on our YouTube, where we have our Tai Chi Chuan and Qigong sessions in our partnership with Black Visions of Wellness and through the UMA Clinic here locally. So we do that as a way to get our foundation together. One of the other primary things connected to our foundation is going to be the things that we take into the body. And by take into the body, and that's why I'm phrasing it that way, to be very specific, because we're not just talking about food when we get into fasting. And I'll talk a bit, but that's our topic for today. We're going to talk about fasting. And when we talk about fasting, I don't want you to look at it as something that it's a time of lack, or we're lacking, or we're denying ourselves something. Fasting is an expression of abundance. It is a way of us to interact with ourselves and the abundance around us, to acknowledge that abundance by saying, I'd like some more of that if possible, and I want to be able to work to build a relationship with myself and the universe where that's possible. And so in doing that, we talked about the ways of knowing. There were multiple ways of knowing. And now we're going to talk about almost like a way of knowing, or a palate cleanser for the consciousness, or the ways and windows into your way of knowing. Window into how you learn, how you acquire information, how you use that to help make better decisions for yourself and your body. And fasting is one of those tools. In general, most people, when you hear fasting, you think about food. If you have a question, or question pops up, please, by all means, throw a question in there. Or what you can do is give us a question in one of the chats, and we're on multiple places. So give us an opportunity. We'd like to thank everyone that's here on Instagram with us. We also acknowledge there's some folks over on Facebook within our Facebook community specifically, maybe checking us out over there. They're not on Instagram yet. So that being said, we're going to keep it simple, keep it easy. Most people, when they hear fasting, they think about food. And so we're going to talk a bit about fasting from food, or how that works and what that is and what that means. We're also going to talk about liquid. We're also going to talk about ways that we can use, the mouth is used for more than just food, to take it in. The other thing that we do in terms of fasting is that we fast in terms of speech. Okay. And there's specific ways you can fast in terms of speech. You could say, I'm only going to say positive, uplifting things. You could say, I'm not going to say so-called profane words, or these specific words I'm not going to say, or I'm only going to speak in these contexts. So that's what you say is like a speech fast. You can also fast from specific types of content. And when we say specific types of content, what we're talking about is you select your, like say, some folks occasionally will take a social media fast. That's a way of giving yourself a break from being constantly connected either through your phone or whatever device you use to connect to your social media. Give yourself a break so that you're not constantly clued into the phone. Check, check. Are folks getting this? No volume? I'm hearing that there's no volume. And folks, let me know if you can hear me, because we were able to get this worked out last week. So I'm just checking up. Can folks hear me? Peace. Can folks hear? Okay. All right. Oh, we got audio. Okay. Okay. I got some words somewhere that I wasn't able to be heard. So we're checking that out. Thank you so much. All right. So if you can hear me, good. Check out, please check your connection. Oh, okay. All right. So folks can hear. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you. Checking, folks. If you're over on one of the other spots, we'll have someone check in on that. So again, let me just reiterate. We're talking about fasting today. And in terms of fasting, there are multiple ways that one can fast. So one of the things that we talk about is not just fasting from food. We talk about fasting from things like internet content and that you want to have an opportunity to really check out the type of content that you're looking at. So it can be audio content. I'm only going to listen to uplifting music, or I'm not going to listen to music at all that I don't make myself. It can be I'm not going to watch television. So most fasts that you get into, even if it's a food fast, we recommend you not watching any television that has commercials or any audio that has commercials in it. And it's not, because we're anti-commercial or anti-capitalist or anything like that, although there are some aspects of what we'll talk about that are maybe perceived as anti-capitalist. What we want to get into is the concept of the concept that we want to be able to be responsible for what we ingest, or what we eat, what we drink, what we not necessarily consume, what we ingest and what we digest. We want to be conscious of that. So in other words, whether it comes in through our ears, it comes in through our eyes, our nose, our mouth, or our tactile sensations, we want to be conscious of what that is. And fasting allows us an opportunity to get in touch with that particular process within our body. So for starters, I'm going to start with food, because that's something that most people know about, is fasting with food, okay? And so from multiple cultures, multiple spiritual backgrounds, religious backgrounds, talk about fasting. And it's a part of their normal everyday practice. So that's something that everybody should have a bit of understanding about, whether it be Lent from a Catholic perspective, or it's a 40-day fast, or whether it be the fast of Ramadan from Islam. And then the other communities have a variety of ways that they can do fasting as well. But we want to talk about the difference in terms of fasting. So in terms of food fasting, you'll notice, some of you may have seen me fast talking about the summer solstice community fast. So 4 times a year, we at the Kemetic Aha and Sama Association will lead community fasts. So we've done so in response, or not so in response, but in commemoration of our work with some of our elders in the community, who here in the greater Los Angeles area would actually lead the community on fasts to basically build a base where the community had an opportunity to learn more about their bodies, learn how their body works, learn how the body heals, how healing works, learn how rapidly their body is able to return to itself through fasting. This is particularly looking at food, okay? And so in that tradition, there's a couple of folks I want to call out, which is one was they got Dr. B Serious, as he's known now, was one of those folks who participate, as well as Baba M. Siddiqui, who out here on the West Coast. These were the folks that I initially learned a great deal of these pieces with, along with the phenomenal Sister Ifa Sade at the Good Life Health Food Center on Crenshaw Boulevard here in Los Angeles. Transformed a lot of lives, starting with mine and many others that you may know. Outside of the hip hop community, they also work directly in terms of the healing community, in terms of the activist communities that existed here in LA. That was the meeting place. And they help people clear their minds through helping them focus on food. And so now we're going to get into the core of what I'm talking about today, which is this. Fasting is based on the principle that the universe abhors a vacuum. And so what we do is we find a way to pour out and empty the vessel. And in emptying the vessel in particular ways, again, the type of fast that we're working on, that'll be how we empty our vessel. And so what then comes of that is the universe then says, we're going to fill your vessel now. And so in doing so, we'll now get to why one might want to fast for food, okay? So for many of you, this may be your first time hearing from me, I'll set up some, after this is over, later on today, I'll also post, once this IG Live goes up, and it'll sit in my profile. What I'll do is I'll post underneath that in the comments, I'll add some of the references so that you'll have access to them. So you can, because again, what I'm sharing is not Inpu's personal information. What I am sharing is what has been taught to me by my elders in the craft of Tai Chi Chuan, Qigong, yoga, and Rekhati committee. So that would be Ai Jehuti, Herukuti, Kepra Ra Chamu Amen, my immediate teacher. And then our teacher, Eri Kafra Ndongo, on out through great grandmaster Dalu, as I shared also Brother M. Siddiqui. And then there was an amazing nurse that used to come through the Good Life and used to share her information. So what you're getting is also, the great Dr. Kweku Ando. So what you'll be getting from me is information that has come to me from my elders, that as I was taught, I will share, and I'll give you some of the access to that information at the end in the comment section. So if I say something that's way out, that it is what it is, but I have a reference. So don't trip. So that being said, we would fast 4 times a year. So in the summer, we usually have our longest fast, mainly because there's a great deal of abundance of food. And so now you'll start to see the connection as it goes on. And so typically we would fast from one aspect of the moon cycle until after the summer solstice. Usually that can go from 21 to 28 days. And it varies just depending on where we are in the lunar cycle and whether we start on a Tuesday or a Saturday. And that's important because most African cultures, and I say most African cultures because we recognize that Africa is a continent. There are many different communities and nations that live there. They didn't all fast in the same way. And so we covered some of them, but the majority in terms of the cultural unity of Africa, as written about by Sheikh Anta Diop, talked about that there is some patterns that are unique throughout Africa. One of them is Tuesday. They would begin a fast, so Tuesday evening after sunset, or Saturday at sunset. And that was done just to get you in the move and get you really on the pattern of getting it going. I like to do it that way here because if you have access to a farmer's market or a community market or a community supported agriculture, you have an opportunity to actually in advance prep your food so that you know what's coming and you know how to go. So in the summer, we've been going raw food, and it'll be a little different next year for some of those that are prepared and ready. But for us, we also go with Tai Chi Chuan, Qigong, yoga, the breathing exercises in addition to the fasting. because we are going on a healing journey. And the goal of a lot of what we do is that the work is simple. It's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. And we want to be providing tools that allow you to make a consistent commitment to a lifestyle change. So with that consistent commitment to a lifestyle change, fasting comes in. And so we have a whole tool, so it's not stressful on the body, it's not hard. We just go to a raw fast in the summer. And it's going to be a little different. There'll be multiple fasts next summer, but we'll talk about that later. So we just came off a raw fast. And basically, that's just all raw food. And we basically created a way where it's not just intermittent fasting, which is where there's no food. But I learned from one of my elders, whose name is Sunshine, who operates a magnificent vegan restaurant in Houston. Check it out if you have an opportunity to get there, where he talks about, and I met him through the amazing Dr. Goss. And so if you don't know about Dr. Goss, who has retreats and things on both coasts, definitely you want to check out Getting with Dr. Goss and using his products that enable you to reclaim the sovereignty over your body. So we do that through manipulation of the physical body and also using food. So raw fast, basically very heavy on fruit. We try to get you going. So in the mornings, you have a particular thing that you do where you'd have water and juices and fruit in the morning, no heavy fruit before 11. And so this raw food fast is designed to get the body to clear out the digestive system. Lots of fiber and high water intake is a way of keeping the bowels and moving through that system, through the digestive system, cleaning it out. In that process, want you to remember, so that kind of fast is designed really to just get you burning on clean fuel, organic fruits and vegetables. So in that process, many folks have discovered that even though they've been at home, even though they've been stressed through the use of our techniques and practices and this fast, they've been able to maintain emotional sobriety, meaning that the highs and lows haven't been so high, haven't been so low. They've been able to even out. They've been able to handle the conflict that has come at them right away with a smile on their face and a twinkle in their eye, because they were able to be at peace. So one of the things that we want to look at with this fasting is, what are we doing the fast for? So now, your body, under normal circumstances, requires 80% of your body's energy to digest food. 80%. And sometimes it requires more. As you know, some communities we have is called the itis. That's kind of the public term. And basically what that means is you've eaten so much food, so rich, that the body has to shut down the consciousness in order for you to process this food. Not what we want, not ideal. You shouldn't eat till you're bursting. You should leave about 25% of the space in your stomach so you can manage just on a regular basis. So let me walk you through a regular day through this fast. So you get up in the morning, you do your thing. By doing your thing, I mean, you'll get up, you'll do your body check-in exercises, you'll do some standing meditation. We call it a SAR stance. You'll do some Qigong, you'll do some Tai Chi Chuan form, you'll do some stretching or some yoga, you'll get your water and your tea in, you'll get your juices in. You'll go about your day, then you'd have your main meal about noon. This is on our raw fast. Your main meal between noon and 2 o'clock, and then you'd have your water, and then you'd have your another meal probably, and again, this is all raw. You'd have another meal at the end of the day. And ideally, you could supplement that how you like. Usually we'd have a smoothie in the morning, and we talked about some effective recipes and those different things, and I'll share some of that again in the comments below. And so that's the summer fast, and it goes roughly 28 days. So the fall or autumnal equinox fast that's coming up is technically 7 days, but we ease in and out on both sides, so it'll be about 10 days. Again, that'll more than likely be a raw fast. And I want to talk about juice fast because, again, the raw fast enables you to detox in a natural way. Just doing the raw foods on their own, getting your leafy greens in, variety, making sure they're effective, making sure you have variety. And the variety is important because too much of one particular leafy greens is not what we're looking for. You want a variety. And the reason you want a variety is that many of us this can actually reset your palate. So that folks know you have 5 taste buds, 5. But most of us really only feed 3, sweet, salty. At most, that's most of us get, because we don't eat food. We eat edible food-like substances. And while it may have a certain taste, that doesn't mean it's good for you. It just means it tastes good. So we want you to be able to learn how to create food and use food as a way to nourish the body from the soul in and then all the way outward. So you get this food and you realize that you have all these fresh things, and folks are like, well, I'm tired of having a salad. I don't want the same old salad. And it's never the same. Because what you want to be able to do when you have a salad is just look at what's there. What we want to be able to do is to stimulate your innate creativity. And when we talk about your innate creativity, what we mean is it gives you an opportunity to look differently at the food that you have. So I do give some recipes. I do give some like salad dressing recipes and other sorts of things. But I really want the main thing that we do with ours is we also have a nutritionist that's a part of our crew that has designed a food log for us. Because if you've grown up in the West, you most likely, particularly in the United States, you most likely have an unhealthy relationship with what you ingest with your food. You eat for comfort. You eat out of emotion. And so the food log helps you identify how you feel after you eat these foods when you're doing the fast. And it helps you can eliminate things that you may be allergic to. And so what this fast, in terms of raw, enables you to do really is to identify how you feel. You may diminish gas, move other things through, and get you going, get you off of your addiction to old relationships with your food. So now the other types of fasts that we have, I'm just going to quickly cover the remaining fast. So the fall fast, because of the nature of the changing in the climate, the available foods in where you are may be different. So you may still have summer foods as we had in the early fall. So even though, there may be some early pomegranate as an example, or some early pumpkin. There may be some early things that come on, even though they're supposed to be later in that year in terms of the growing season. You may end up with more abundant watermelon in September, even though it's usually supposed to end in the early part of September. So that can help with the fast because that's a way of getting more water into the body. And we try to eat things that have seeds in them. Okay, without getting in too deeply onto the types of food, what you want to be able to have is organic or as pesticide-free as you can get where you are. And you want to be able to have like fresh mountain spring water wherever you are, not purified tap, mountain spring if you can. And then going from that, it's just getting yourself in a place where you're getting adequate sunlight and movement of the body. And that places your body in an orientation with the planet, with the cosmos, where you're able to create a space where the body's able to heal and be at an optimal level. And so with the body at an optimal level, now, some things that were going on before, say like you may have been forgetful, you may have not been able to have a continuous train of thought, those things are now more likely and more possible. So we do a 7 to 10 day fast for autumn. We do a 3 to 5 day fast in the winter. And in the spring, again, we do a 7 to 10 day fast. So that's in terms of the general fast related to food. Now, again, typically we've done raw fasts primarily because that is one that is manageable for most people. And by most people, I mean, ideally, when I do a lot of my work as an alternative practitioner or a complementary practitioner along with allopathic methodologists and practitioners, one of the things that we want to give folks the opportunity to do is to check in with their body and check in with their primary care person. So that way, if you're on any meds or medications, while you're doing this, you have a plan to get off of said meds, and you have that done with whoever's giving you the meds. Okay? Because the goal is that we weren't put here to be on meds forever. We were put here that in the event that we need a crutch to help get us over the hump, that's what it's for. And then once you're over the hump, now it's time for us to get back to burning clean fuel, get it back to doing what's going to be optimal for us. So fasting affords you that. There's a wonderful poem by a gentleman named Rumi, Jalaluddin Rumi, called On Fasting. And see, I don't have it in front of me, so I won't read it, but I'll give a reference to it in the comments. It's wonderful. Because basically what it talks about is, your guitar, if you stuff the holy space inside it full, no music. That the flute only plays because it's empty within. So we don't get beautiful music without the emptiness. And so that for us, it's a way of us to remind ourselves that we aren't necessarily here because just purely to stuff our bodies full of food. That we are here to be able to play our part and to accept our mission and to aid in the development and cultivation of this planet to be a good place for all of us. And that's going to mean that we have to be clear-minded and have clear thoughts. And that's not possible if you're in front of a television all the time with commercials being bombarded, or you're on radio and it's being bombarded with particular low vibration music. You want to have an opportunity to listen to music that's uplifting, see things that are uplifting without being interrupted to get you to arrest and hijack your consciousness to buy things. And I also want you to think about what a food commercial actually looks like if you're fasting from food. And I won't go into it here, but it's rather lascivious and salacious. Just take a look at next time that you have a TV commercial about food, and just look at it for what it really is. That being said, fasting affords you a wonderful time to regain discipline, to afford you an opportunity to really get to know your body, so you can know the things that your body likes. Again, you may have heard about this fad diet or that fad diet. It may work for your friends, but your body is unique, coming through from your ancestry. And so you need to find the things that work best for you. And if we are able to do that, then you have an opportunity to more fully experience life. So the other fast that we can do is one where I like to speak in what is called Medu Nefer, which means good speech. And what that means is when I talk, I usually don't talk unless I have something of value to add or something to say that is adding or building to the conversations that I engage in. And that was really started with me because we did a speech fast where for 7 days I did not speak. And the goal behind that is that you're being poured into. You realize that much of what you have to say is just noise. And it's really challenging for folks to be with you in the silence. But that's where the beauty lives. That's where the art comes from. And so those of us that are uncomfortable with the silence, as you have seen over these last 90, almost 120 days, being sheltered in place has allowed us to examine ourselves, our relationships, our families, and the larger community. And so we, in essence, have gone through a very specific kind of fast culture-wide. And I want to say it that way so you can begin to look at it not as a negative, but as a tool for your own empowerment. That while we're in this place where we're sheltering, let's use this time to our benefit. Let me find, after I'm healed, let me find a way to get healing, even if that means rest. You know, you can check out the work of the NAP Ministry here on Instagram. You can check out Decolonizing Therapy here on Instagram. There's some amazing tools that will aid you in dealing with kind of the angst of feeling that you're stuck in place. Because we're not stuck. Trees aren't stuck. Again, they're able to propagate and get entire forests, which we don't see them move. So what I'm imploring that you do is just look differently. And as you have this opportunity to look differently, you'll see what that feels like and looks like in terms of your role and your function with your body. What you may come out of this particular fast with is a different relationship with food. I know that I'm someone that loves sweets, and this last fast I came out, and I can say to you, most folk that know me well, you know, one of my nicknames was the Cookie Monster. I love cookies. And I can sincerely and honestly say, since the fast ended, I haven't had a cookie. I just have not been interested. I've been having fruit. I've been just really burning really, really clean. And it has allowed me to create the space, the time to do more. Again, your body is breaking down these heavy foods all the time. And that's why you have to rest so much. I don't need sleep the same way I used to, because the energy is immediate and fresh. And it can get even more powerful if you're doing a juice fast. And in doing a juice fast, that's the kind of fast where usually it's done when we're looking to heal from specific types of dis-ease. And when I say dis-ease, I mean just that, not at peace. So for those of you listening, don't try and report, I'm not offering you medical advice. I'm talking about culture, I'm talking about history, talking about cultural nutrition. And so folks would take specific juices historically as a way to address particular things. And one of the beauties of that is that these fasts afford you an opportunity to heal more quickly. Your body to respond more effectively and your body to burn more efficiently. And yes, this is occurring. You would be vegan during this time. Well, what most folks call vegan, I allow, on my fast, I allow honey. As my ancestors mostly would use honey, it has magnificent healing and restorative properties. It also aids the body when you're balancing out your sugars. So when you're fasting, honey is quite beneficial. And honey is also a particular sweetener that, not only being natural, it very clearly lets you know when you've used too much. The same with garlic and some other pieces. And during the fast, you know, typically we don't use a lot of garlic. And the main reason we aren't heavy on the garlic on a raw fast is that garlic stimulates the appetite. Okay. And that's very beneficial when you're not eating, or you have a health condition where you don't eat. But for a lot of the purpose we're doing, we want to keep your energy and your passion under the control of the mind. And garlic and heavy garlic can alter that. So right now, what I'd like to do is, if folks have some questions, you can either put it in the chat or let me know, because again, we use fasting as a particular tool to allow the body and the digestive system to slow down, to get a reset, and to cleanse it out. And so I haven't laid out for you fully what it would look like, but I've got that already written down. And so as we move into the prep for the next fast, we'll use one of these Sundays to actually talk about that. So you'll have more than this opportunity for us to discuss fast and fasting. But like I said, last week we talked about how you get to know what you know and talked about the breath and the breathing. Now we've talked a bit about food. And before I go further, when I talk about food, I need you to understand that wherever you're from, I would like for you to take the time to look up your ancestry. Know who you are, know where you come from. Even if you're racialized as white or racialized as black or racialized as Asian, you come from a place that has a culture and ethnicity, and those people ate specific types of foods before they were, we'll say, conquered in the Western context and altered. So before the invasions of Christianity into Western Asia, before the advent of Islam through East Africa, on over across North Africa and the West Africa, people ate some different things. What did your ancestors eat? Those tools will be helpful, so that you may find that echinacea and golden seal are great to help some folks stay off of illness, but may not be as good for you because your ancestry and your people used a different herb or a different plant that is far more beneficial for you. So while I love turmeric and black pepper and it does amazing things, I also have learned and done a great deal with baobab powder, or baobab, with baobab. So in terms of anti-inflammation. And so a lot of the things from doing these fasting, it aids the body in reducing inflammation, pushing out unnecessary mucus. So the body only produces mucus in places where it's supposed to. And in doing that, the fast cleanses you out. It serves, because we don't just fast. Again, for us, it's not just about the nutrition. We're also talking about doing the deep breathing, doing the Tai Chi Chuan, doing the Qigong, doing the stretching and the yoga, so that we're directly impacting both our immune system, all of our internal organ systems, and the greater ways that the body interacts with the external world. So that we're clearing out the nasal passages, clearing out the tongue, the eye, ear, nose, and throat are all getting cleared out through this process. And we're also clearing out the digestive path, or the dual channels of lungs and digestion, all the way down through the entire digestive tract. So all that's getting cleansed at the same time. That's one of the reasons why I've been emphasizing over these years why Tai Chi Chuan and breathing exercises are so essential and important. We're massaging the internal organs through these movements. We're shifting the way that the body's electrical systems are working to, you hear folks all the time talk about this whole raise your vibration kind of concept. What they're really talking about is the foods that you eat, if they're raw, they're at their highest energy state. And so when you cook them, many times they are denatured in the cooking, so that you're changing the nutritive system. Some are better cooked, so you have to know the essence of what you're dealing with. And that's what I'm talking about. We want to get to the essence. And in getting to the essence, that will enable us an opportunity to really see who we are, to learn more about how we are becoming fuller human beings. And right now I'd like to open, if there are questions, this is a great time, throw it in the chat. This is again Inpu Ka Mut. You are here with Sundays with Seba Inpu Ka Mut. Today we're talking about fasting. If you have a question related to fasting, in terms of its foundational, as a foundational principle, in terms of diet, in terms of actually nutrition, not diet, but in terms of community. And the main goal that I really want to talk about in doing all of this work is in helping to build community, helping people to remember what it's like to live in a community, to live in a village, to live with people who vibrate and resonate the same way that you do in the world, because we exist and we're here for one another. And while we may be separated by physical space, It does not mean that our spirit and our minds are not able to connect through these other media, and then to learn how to do it without these media. Any questions? We're right at our 17-minute mark till we close out. Just grateful that folks were able to drop in. You can type it into the chat if you have a question here on Instagram. If you're on one of the other platforms with us, please be patient and I'll answer your questions once we've finished over there. All right, word, anybody got a question? Okay. Peace. Anyone? Okay. Okay. So, oh yeah, length of time. Okay. That's excellent. Y'all got basically the same question. See, we're already vibrating on the same frequencies. How long should someone fast who just started? Well, see, again, need to fast. See, first, we have to determine why are we fasting. And I'll say that without you understanding, what is the first meal of your day called? Huh? That's right. It's called breakfast. I know some of you mispronounce it and call it breakfast. It's not breakfast. It's breakfast. And so many folks are already doing what we naturally doing, intermittent fasting. And so in terms of a need to fast, that's going to determine the purpose. Exactly. Break fast. And so if you're looking to deal with something specific with your body, that can then determine it. For us, like I said, we move with the seasons. And for those of you that just jumped on, that's what we talk about. So again, we use an adapted Kemetic calendar. So it's both a lunar calendar as well as a stellar calendar, star calendar, and a calendar connected to the moon and our sun. So we go off of that calendar, and connected to that, we do a cycle of fasting for each season. And then once folks' bodies are used to the seasonal fasts, for those people that are doing the deeply spiritual work, like the healing work that I do with folks in community, then we tend to fast more regularly. And then that gets into a deeper understanding of what the calendar is like. But like I said, some people, if you're you're a practitioner of Islam and you're in general good health, you would do the 40-day fast of Ramadan. If you're, of a Christian persuasion, you're practicing or engaging in Lent, you would do that fast is also about 40 days. So, but again, it's not a strict fast. You do want to be able to have a time frame so you're able to get into and get out of the fast in ways that do not produce headaches, even if you're detoxifying. There are ways to move through this without creating a space where you have headaches or discomfort, or you have additional swelling if you're in good health already. Now, if you're in a particular place where you are dealing with particular health conditions, then that would determine how long your fast would be. So that hopefully I've answered your questions directly. And let's say that generally there have been research studies done, and the research studies that have been done in terms of like length of time, we'll say like for health conditions, you'll say for some people that get that have diabetes, type 2, have to be specific, type 2 diabetes, once they've gone on a raw vegan fast for about 14 days, they say that for some, like for a good number of the patients, that reversed the condition. And so if you went 21 days, 28 days, like a moon cycle on a raw vegan fast as a way, in concert with your healthcare practitioner and your nutritionist, that would really reset your system so that it would get your pancreas functioning more appropriately, and it may have issues to do with how your body is dealing with its insulin resistance. So a good deal of these things are determined by, what you choose to eat, how you choose to use that. And the length of time is just determined on how long you've been, eating poorly, and by poorly, I mean following the indoctrination and the propaganda of the mainstream culture in the United States and probably other countries as well now, as they export this kind of fast food culture. And I'm not against fast food. I just think that, if you want fast food, you should be able to cook it at home. And you don't want to, and if you're already, vegan, you don't want a bunch of meat substitutes unless you're making it at home yourself. You want to be able to have the opportunity to be creative, try it out yourself, learn some things, grab some cookbooks. Cooking is a skill. We're here now, we're at home, we're sheltering in place. Develop a skill that you're going to need, because we eat every day. And for those that may need a little assistance, I use Baba's Vegan Cafe here in the LA area. They have a magnificent raw plate that they do. So they're also folks that are really in support of Black businesses. So you have a lot of wonderful places where you can get good raw or good vegan eats increasingly in our community. So, that's out there. I have some of my personal favorites. Baba's Vegan obviously is one of them. I also spend a great deal of time at Simply Wholesome. And I also, like I said, I'm a very strong advocate of farmers markets, community-based farmers markets. So if you also have an opportunity, you want to give a shout out to Sola Food Co-op, which is the South LA Food Co-op. They're working to get us a store that's a co-op that we own. So so please look them up, Sola Food Co-op, because we're right approaching we have 494 members right now. We're trying to, I think that's right, you're trying to get to 500. We're growing as an opportunity to do some things for us, by us, and work with our own farmers. So we have an opportunity to really build a community. Even though we are fewer in number, we're together. That's right, Lulu Big Love. That is a great deal of what it's about. People got shifted off of that. And again, as the prophet, the poems out of the prophet with Khalil Gibran talked about it's the lust for comfort. And that's why fasting is beneficial, because it enables you to build the discipline and to see what you really need. And in that, we're going to have an opportunity to explore our relationship, not just with ourselves, but with others. And so you have an opportunity when you fast. Oh, I left one big thing out. No intimate relations, no sexual relations when you're fasting, unless you can do some of the advanced work. I won't get into that here because we still haven't broke down the body yet. And so we're just now getting to the building blocks of the human body. So each week we're going to build, right? So last week we talked about basically ways of knowing and breath and breathing. This week we're talking about how you'd use the principles and concepts of Tai Chi Chuan, Qigong, and yoga as a way to get with your food so that your body is using your food far more efficiently. And now that your body is using this food efficiently, now you have an opportunity to get to the other things. And so that particular fast, and again, there are multiple levels of fasting. And because I'd have to get real deep into, I want to go into depth. Let's just say in terms of the no sex and fasting, is that the body is electric. So it's a bioelectric entity. And so I haven't set up the framework yet where I can explain to you in a reasonable way where you'd understand and agree with me why, unless you and your partner are on the fast together and doing advanced postures and poses, that intercourse and or fluid exchange is not necessarily forbidden, it's just not recommended. And by no sex, that means even with yourself. And you're gonna give yourself a break too. All right? And so it helps. Just a way to focus and give the entire body a break and a chance to focus Any other questions? We're rounding up on 7 minutes left. Those are some great questions. Thank you very much for sharing them. Anything else related to fasting? Also, while you're fasting, it's a good point in time to spend time in prayer or chanting or whatever your particular spiritual practice, works. I see you over there, Ambition. And say that coming right out of the teachings of Ptahhotep, it says that any man that, that fails, that through his desires is not somebody that can be trusted. And so what this is designed to do is to get us to a place where whatever physical desire that manifests through the brain and the body does not tell the mind and the spirit what is necessary. We know what's necessary. Procreation is necessary. However, joy-based reciprocal movement is very different. And so we spend this time in fasting to get to know our body and our relationship to the source energy in a much higher, much more profound way. We're at the 5-minute mark. Just checking in with folks. Any other questions related to fasting? You don't want the fire of life to burn out. And I think as we're building, so next week we'll begin to cover. So now this week what we've talked about is you understand how the body is using this energy in general. So what I'm going to do, I did a bit of this for our Zoom sessions and for our YouTube community. What we want to be able to do, that's right, Lulu. I find ways to speak so that if our children are listening, they got to go look all that up and then be able to put it together to understand what we talk about. Yeah, Inpu love the kids. But what we want to be able to do with this series that we're working with here is to build each session. So next week, like I talked about before, next week what we're going to talk about is the human body and the subtle aspects of the human body. Because we've talked about the breath, we've talked about how you get to know information and the different windows into your consciousness, the scientific method. This week, we're talking about how to get that information and get to it and rapidly get to it so that your body is functioning at a high level. So you can check us out with our Tai Chi or our Qigong sessions. The link is in my bio for those every Tuesday and Thursday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time. You also have an opportunity this week to understand the concept of fasting. So how the best way to reset your system every season. Because again, that's why we do spring cleaning, right? We want your house clean. We don't just do that at spring cleaning. Those of us that are African descendants know you clean your place at New Year's. You clean your place at almost every season. And we're talking that deep cleaning that you wiping the walls and the floor with baseboards and sweeping, and the house is smelling like Florida water, so that all the nooks and crannies are cleansed. And fasting enables you to do that to the inside of the body, particularly when you do it in concert with Tai Chi Chuan, Qigong, and or yoga and breathing exercises. So that's the combination that we utilize to get the body functioning optimally. So next week, what we'll talk about is what are those subtle energy bodies that we're bringing into our conscious awareness. And I'm going to talk about them utilizing the concepts from our system, which will be the Taoist influences, the Buddhist influences, the African influences, and specifically the Kemetic influences. So what we'll be getting is a way of understanding how the different subtle bodies all interact, how they work together in a fashion that enables you to now understand the body. And then we may be able to come back and have that conversation about why, or then we can start having conversation about procreation and relationships, because now that we've dealt with one body, yours, and how you can eat and drink and those sorts of things, then we can get into what it actually looks like to be with some other person external to our body. And also when we fast, ideally it's water, it's juice, it's tea. So that as we build this up, you have an opportunity to now understand your body. Because we're again, folks, we're at home. I know that people are suffering, you know, because the society is trying to tell us to stay at home and do all these other things. And I want you to be safe. I want you to be well. But I also want you to have an opportunity to learn who you really are. Use this time to tap into your ancestors, to tap into your body. Why are you here? What is this mission that you have been given, that you accepted when you decided to incarnate and come to this earth, to be here? That 1 in a million that was able to give, was given the spark of life. And you took it and it became a flame and it now burns within you. I want to be able to aid you in directing that and helping that grow into a roaring fire that you can use to transform your life. Hopefully you'll have an opportunity to utilize our tools to do that. And it doesn't have to be Inpu. You find that the things I'm doing you don't like, I will get you to somebody who you may like. You know, there's a sister tonight, 6 o'clock, on King Simon, who's King Simon on YouTube, King Simon on Facebook. They're going live. Her name is Professor Zahalia. She's going to be talking about women, women's martial arts, and about her team and the things that she's doing. So she's awesome. Doshi Healing Arts, another one of our partners, doing amazing work. You're going to see some things coming up at the in Black August from our partnership with Doshi Healing Arts. You're going to see some things with our partnership with the Intersection for Mankind. Check these folks out on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram. Look for us. We are seeking to create a world with you that you want to live in. We're not here in this time. We're not put here to suffer. We are put here to experience pain because that's the body's way of getting the attention when you're not listening. Fasting and these tools gives you an opportunity to be able to hear your body talk to you with time to do something about it. Hotepu, Uncle Ja Seneb, Erunefer. Hey, hey, hey. We'll give it y'all in just a moment over there on over there on Facebook in the group. We're gonna get to y'all. Yes. So we want to be able to see, was that do? Oh, yes. Okay. Give me just a moment, y'all. I'm typing this stuff up and then I'll be able to finish up, come right back to y'all. That's in the Facebook room. Whoever's in on Facebook, I'll be in the room in just a moment. Let me type in this little stuff so we can get it going and get finished and finish it up. So this is Sundays with All right. So just got to get that done. I'm going to post that. Okay, I'm thinking it's posting. It's posting. So while that's cracking, we're going to get straight. I'm going to break this down. Everything is ready. Going to slide us over here so we can get on our main frame, main focus. We got that little minor delay, thankfully. And let's see. Oh, yeah. So give me a moment. Want to thank everybody on Facebook for tuning in within our group, for taking the time to be able to hear me and to focus in. It's going to be continued every Sunday. We're going to do this live into Facebook. So the group has an opportunity for those that are not on Instagram. There's no need for you to join Instagram if you're not already on there. I know that folks are managing their social media lives and functions and practices, so you may not want to be there. So I'm taking this and we're going to have a vid that's on IG Live, and we're going to have a separate space starting with this video on our YouTube channel that will be for KhASA members only. And so that'll also go out in the newsletter, as we'll start having these sessions, which will be for us to talk about our role and how we're doing different things and how we may be able to improve what's going on. I know that the lighting was a little funky, but you have to, I'll say it this way, that my beautiful skin and its complexion, this dark complexion with distance, that the way the lighting is in this room is not uniquely designed to pick up because I have the white shirt on. So it's like it's throwing the light. And so I'm trying to get it to throw it back on me. And it isn't happening in exactly the way that I would like. Just the lighting shifted while I was doing, so I'm working on getting some better consistent lighting in the room. And I got to get more than likely I'm going to need to get a lavalier mic so that it comes through clearly through all the different movements that we do for the Zoom sessions as well as for this. I know the session was a bit off. I wasn't trying to get my DJ Vlad on from Vlad TV with that little off angle. The main thing is that the way my setup is right now, I'm not able to get the same angle for YouTube as well as I am able to get it, for Facebook as well as for the IG Live. But I did want people that were only on Facebook to have an opportunity to get this information. And so we'll refine it as we go. As always, we're lifting and building as we climb. Thank you all so much for checking it out. I'm going to end the broadcast now. I really appreciate y'all, everything you've done as you listened and watched. Dua, thank you all very much. Hatapu, teacher to student, student to teacher, to the ancestors. Amun Re, Sutin the chair, Aten Re, Neb, and Hatapu.